What's going on, friends? I'm Chad. I make videos with the Bible, the spiritual life, and the everyday life of a pastor. Welcome to Channel Chat. Not done a Channel Chat in a while. And I want to come to you today to talk about what I've learned over the last few months with the channel, and then also what my plan is for 2025. I'm excited about this. I got monetized a couple of years ago, and up until then, YouTube was a fun hobby. It was a thing that I thought was interesting to check out, to try things out. I like YouTube. It's fun. But like I said, it was really just a hobby. And the last few months, I've begun thinking a lot about YouTube again and where it falls into stuff. And so that's going to just kind of be the larger piece of this conversation. But sorry, my office is, straight up Garhole State. People are asking me, hey, Chad, what's going on with your Bible next year? Because that's kind of one of the main things I make content about on this channel. And so what I'm going to show you is going to give you a little bit of a hint of what's going on with the Bible. Because I am going to use the turkey buzzard yet again for 2025. But this happened. Do you see this? Taking care of the one thing I can control that I don't like about the turkey buzzard. And that is that it typically looks like an 8th grade earth science textbook. And normally my solution, I need to make a video of this cool. Oh, you can see this, can't you? This thing's awesome. Normally my solution to that problem is just to cover the whole thing in stickers. But I'm not satisfied with that. But I'm in the middle of shooting this video and doing this project. I'm hopefully going to do a lot of it this afternoon. And that video will be coming out. There's actually going to be a lot of videos rolling out over the next few weeks if I can keep up with this plan that I have. But I've learned a lot in the last year on YouTube. I've not been that active this year, but what I've consistently kind of seen is, my channel subscribers just, growing and growing and growing and growing. In fact, if I pull up over the last year, I'm just kind of looking at it right now on YouTube. We've managed to grow the subscriber count, pretty significantly over the last year, even though it's been dormant. It's not been, something that's that busy. So I've reached this level of critical mass, especially with about 10 videos that kind of consistently get watched a lot, to where, you can get a decent sized channel. And I wouldn't know if I'd call mine decent sized or not. It's big enough to, make $25 a month on YouTube ad revenue. But it's there. But let's get into the meat of this conversation, because you might not be watching this for a bunch of things, but if you're curious about what Chad's doing with the channel, this is the conversation. So the creative world is shifting right now. It's shifting pretty significantly. And one of the conversations that I've noticed the most is happening is people are realizing that, algorithmic things are a little bit now out of hand. Like I said earlier, YouTube has always just been, a hobby for me. It was a hobby for a long time when there's a piece of lint on another lens and it was bugging me. I went for almost 2 years when I was transitioning in ministry from being a full-time local pastor to the job I have now as a congregational developer inside the United Methodist Church, to where I was pretty much having to hustle up as an independent coach and developer. And, Twitter at Rev Chad Brooks, or X, whatever you want to call it now. That's where I actually, managed to drum up a good bit of it's business. It was work. I mean, it was the ministry I did that, paid the bills. It was a big thing. But because the way the algorithm has shifted, so many, especially faith-based people over on Twitter that write a lot, have noticed that their engagement has just nosedived in the last 6 to 8 to 9 months, because the algorithm has changed in so much. And when Elon took it over, anything with a link on it just started getting deprioritized like crazy. And over the last 3 or 4 months, so if you don't know this is how this business works. You attract somebody with content you're making. You get them to sign up for an email list. You write to that email list quite frequently, and occasionally you sell to that email list. Now, I'm full-time with the annual conference now, so I don't need to do this for money anymore. But for me, there's something about community engagement and the research and the conversations and the learning and the thinking out loud and all of that. It's just wildly vital to the way that I like to do this whole thing. And that's changed significantly. Now, you're watching this on YouTube. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. And what a lot of people who are kind of broadly in the same industry I am, or at least following this as a marketing plan, have realized that YouTube actually drives more people to them than other places. In the last few months, you might have noticed, like, I start talking about my email list. There's gonna be a link to it down below. I see more new people signing up to my email list. And I've got 3 actually different emails I send. I send one for productive pastor folks. I send one to people that are interested in church size and my research and work on, normal size church sustainability. Then I write some of my theological writing on there. I've seen more people come through that email list through a YouTube link than anywhere else for the last few months. That was one of the main experiments that I was running on. And I'm now realizing and seeing that YouTube can potentially be significantly more strategic. Now, my day gig, my official title is the Congregational Vitality Strategist at Louisiana Conference United Methodist Church. Full-time, solid job, keeps me busy. I mean, I spend, 50 hours a week doing that job, thinking about that job, working on stuff for that job and all that. But I love to have conversations because we kind of take a weird approach to it, a very different approach to it, based off of a lot of it, the 10 years I spent as a church planter and the ways that we started, dripping out these ideas of doing things differently and seeing successes on them, for years. And then when I came into this role, it's like, okay, let's formalize these things a little bit more. Let's just make sure these aren't flukes. Let's make sure this is actually can broadly work across all different churches. I think about that online, quite often. That's really what I do on Twitter is that type of work. But I've got a full-time job now, full-time ministry job, solid job. I love this job. I've actually made multiple big decisions this year to focus every single bit of my mental effort and time effort I have on this job. I decided to not go into a PhD program a few months ago because I was like, this is this thing I want to focus on so much. Then I've also had Productive Pastor. This community has been around for over a decade. It has thousands of pastors attached to it in some way. And I've always just uploaded an audio version of the podcast to the channel. But for the last few episodes, I've done video forward episodes, which people have asked me for a long time to do. And then also, podcasts, every podcast now has a video side of it. And one of the reasons, you might not know this, one of the reasons that people have that video side to it is they can then get those cool looking Instagram reels or TikToks or short, like vertical videos with 2 people or 3 people talking heads. But they use it on Twitter. They use these places that the algorithm is just so heavily defining now. But I was curious. People always ask me, Chad, why is this a video podcast? And so I tried it out on the channel. A couple of things that were going on. So the first video that I turned loose onto my YouTube channel, and this is here. I'm gonna screen share so you can kind of see this because I don't care. A lot of people don't want to, they don't share this kind of stuff or whatever. They're nervous to, but I don't care. I'm an open book. This kind of stuff's fun. People always ask me about how you do kind of what I do online, and I tell them like it's not as big as you think it is, but it's big enough to do what it needs to do. Especially for those that year I was solid on my own, and then I had and then the next year I was like 50% the job I have now, 50% on my own. So this episode right here, the 5 favorite items for ministry productivity. This is a Productive Pastor episode. You see, it has over 1,000 views on YouTube. And then you also had this video, the Ordering 2025 Bible Supplies. That's a rapid, massive amount of videos and of that are only, a month old. That many views for me. Like that's a little bit ahead of the curve. Like I said, I've always been uploading those videos to YouTube, and you can see the normal traction that they get. It's in the 40s, 50s, 60s. It was good. I had some people who listened to the show here on YouTube. So that was it. So you see that. Then I turned loose episode 124. Only got 131 views. That was surprising. That was kind of helped me understand some stuff. Then the favorite music for devotional time, it's me learning some stuff. That's below average for me. And then yesterday I turned loose another Productive Pastor here on YouTube. Only got 54 views. And I've been beginning to think about this. I think it's so important if you do any sort of creative work online in this manner to experiment, to learn how you do it, to learn what it means for your community and your channel, that kind of stuff. And after the first video, I was like, wow, people love this. This is awesome. Oh my goodness, I don't have the time to do this every week. The second video came out, didn't get near the traction as quick as it did. And I began thinking about it because I've always had this thing in the back of my mind. I don't know if this channel is wild about productive pastor. I'm just going to stick it on there because it really doesn't matter that much. You know, after the video yesterday and seeing how it like crawled at a slow pace, I said, Chad, you're getting too wide with what's going on in this place. So I realized I have to protect this channel and keep it focused on, you know, the Bible, spiritual content, and then just the other things that typically people on this channel, you're watching this, especially 10, 12 minutes in, that you dig. It's like, okay, I've got to honor that. I've got to stick to the niche. I've also been really curious for a while about starting a second channel for these other things, the more cerebral side of stuff, for the productive pastor thing, and then also this huge amount of content that I've never made videos about that's about normal church sustainability. What I've decided to do is I'm actually starting a second channel in 2025. I've already done the groundworks for it. There's no videos on it yet, but if you want to subscribe to that, if you're in ministry, if you're a pastor or ministry or you work in church, or you want that sort of thing, you want the productive pastor stuff, I'm not going to be making big videos for those anymore, just old school upload from the Libsyn feed. But making videos about other stuff, about the normal sized church, about the work that we do, all of this sort of stuff. There's a link in the description. Go sign with that channel. It's also, there's no subscribers right now. It'll be an interesting journey to see how long it takes me to bring that channel to monetization, because it took 8 years on this channel because I was just not really taking it seriously. And then about, a year and a half of intentional work. So it'll be interesting. So if you want that kind of stuff, go to that link, subscribe to that channel. Second channel. Chad's doing second channel. This channel, I've got a lot of stuff I've got kind of queued up about Bible, about Bible journaling, about spiritual formation, spiritual development, the spiritual life, that sort of stuff. I'm going to add a new thing into it that I'm excited about that I think will work pretty well, is where I actually will kind of have more theological conversations on this channel about stuff inside of the well-known home bases we have now, because YouTube's the second largest search engine. And there is this fun, weird groundswell of people being interested in faith in this moment. And I've begun following some other channels, now they're all younger than me, of these people that have stood up these really, really cool spiritual development conversations on YouTube. And I kind of want to find a way to do that. And one of the reasons is I'm not preaching weekly anymore. I'm not pastoring a church right now, and I'm always thinking about practical theology and how this means to follow Jesus and what this looks like. And so this will give me an avenue into that. That second channel is just called the Normal Size Church, is going to be where productive pastor stuff gets dropped. And I'm going to slowly begin actually sunsetting productive pastor a little bit. I will never stop it altogether, but I'm not going to be giving it the focus I've given it over off and on for the last 12 years, because it doesn't fit into this picture of where I want to be going, what I want to be doing in 5 years. I'm going to keep it going, but it's not going to be nearly as active. It was my primary gig for a year, and then it was a pretty heavy secondary gig for another year after that. But also I'm going to start creating a bunch of stuff around this normal sized church conversation. And then letting people know about email lists. I really don't sell anything hardly at all anymore. I sell things like twice a year. Now, this next week is one of those weeks where I sell things. And so the emails will be doing that. But really what it is about building up communities of people that are interested in this really unique research and the work that we're doing, how we're understanding church vitality in this moment. So I feel like in some ways, I kind of need to come on and do channel chat to almost apologize for those 3 videos, because I did an experiment. And I realized pretty quickly the experiment was not working. I need to pivot, and I need to make sure people know, like, I figured this out. And I'm also a big fan of doing things in public and letting people know what's actually going on, where this is happening, all this sort of stuff. So that's it. I'm Chad. I'm going to make a couple more things, doing several stuff. I'm going to try to finish rebinding the turkey buzzard today. Excited to get that video out to you. Got some other stuff coming out. There's some really practical kind of how-tos about Bible journaling, about Bible note-taking, and what that's different. So I'm excited. So, Merry Christmas. Thanks for hanging out. Come hang out in the comments. That's my favorite place to be. The comments are awesome. So I'm Chad. Sign up for the email list below. If you're curious about that second channel, go subscribe to that second channel. Hopefully have some stuff out there in the next couple of days. There probably will be one video coming out next week that is a little salesy about Productive Pastor, but it's just one video, and I'm probably gonna, I'll let it run for a few days, let it do what it needs to do, and then I'm gonna put it unlisted. So thanks again. I appreciate you. Y'all have a good one, and have a great weekend and a Merry Christmas.